Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the growth channel, and I am your girl Lee. And if you're new here, welcome. Please do subscribe, like and comment, and if you're an oldie, welcome back, darling. And today we are going to be growing in the growth channel. So I got myself some green tea. So today's topic, of course, as you have read on the oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about the noise, guys. Like, I don't know what's happening today, but it had to happen today. It had to happen today. Really had to happen today. So please do not mind the noise in the background. Yo, guys. Okay, so whatever, I don't know what they're doing today, but whatever we're doing has stopped for a minute. Today we're talking about communicating with God, right? Communication with God, communicating with God. Let's get right into it. What is communicating with God? Communicating with God is to create a pathway for a relationship between us and God, right? Between you and God. Basically, is to just allow yourself to be guided by God, and to really just create that space and give that space where it's just you and God, that personalized space, just to create that pathway, that guidance, that pathway for a relationship between you and God, so that He can guide you into this path called life. And yeah, so how do we communicate with God? So we communicate with God differently. We communicate with God through dreams, scriptures, visions, people. This is more like how He communicates with us, right? When it comes to communicating, I think a lot of times we communicate with God through prayer, but He communicates with us in a very personalized way, because He knows us the best. Like, we human beings are not we're not cookie cutters. Like, we're not cut in the same shape or form or whatever. Our experiences through life differ, and so in that pathway, in that way, it has created a different relationship between us and God. So my relationship with God is different from the relationship that my friend has with God, and with that comes the different communicating, the way God communicates with us, right? A friend of mine once said that she used to think that God would communicate to her through people or voice or whatever, and she never experienced that until one day she realized that God communicates with her through scripture, right? And it's different from one person to another. With me, God communicates with me through dreams and visions, and scriptures as well, but more dreams and visions, because I feel like God knows us, so He knows that I talk a lot. So He's like, you know what, you talk a lot, so I need you when you're asleep or when you're quiet, and all that. But yeah, with me, my experiences with God is that God communicates with me through visions and through dreams. He communicates with me through dreams a lot of times, and then every now and then it's through visions. I see things. It's not like an everyday thing, and you can't like channel like no. But through visions, I do remember one particular vision, but that's like a very long one. Anyways, I will do a specific video for that, dreams, visions, and dreams and visions and people also. And I said people, right? People, God can communicate to us or to you personally through people. God has communicated to me through people as well, and God can use you as well to communicate to the next person. So, but a lot of times He does that, actually. A lot of times communicated through people, but there's this moment. I don't know if any of you guys have ever experienced it, where there's like that one person that comes and says something in that spur of the moment that was needed to be said, or said something that doesn't make sense at that moment, but as you go by life, and as you grow or whatever, you go back to that very person that said something, and it's like, oh my gosh, God, God. But and he uses very unconventional people. God uses anybody to communicate his message to us or to you. We as people, I think we expect when God sends a person to come speak to us, we expect a pastor, we expect like a priest, a deacon, somebody who's holy, we expect somebody clean, we expect somebody who is, listen, awesome. But God, more times, uses very unconventional people. I remember this one time I was with someone, a mutual friend of mine, a friend of a friend, and this one guy who was drunk out of his feet. And I mean, like, drunk out of his feet, guys, like very drunk. Anyway, it was a party, but he was drunk out of his feet. But this man, it was a man, came to us, and he said some very interesting things to this very mutual friend of mine, friend of a friend. And it was like, what? And then he said something to me too, and it was like, what? And it was not a sense of prophesying or anything, but a sense of like a message, like, guys, you deep down, when a message is from God to you. They don't need to be like, because of this is what. No, they didn't, like, listen, you're gonna be fine. When somebody comes and be like, you're gonna be fine, right? And they see with you're not okay, but you're smiling. How does this person know that I'm not okay? Type of situation that is going on. So a drunk man comes and tells you and sends a message from God to you. What? Another unconventional person that God used to send a message to me was Isangoma, and I'm still today stand with you. What? Really? Because obviously growing up Christian, you don't, growing up Christian, you grow up being taught those two don't mix and whatever. But at that day was so weird. I will talk about it one day, but like, that day was very weird. But a sangoma came to me and sent a message. At that very moment in time, it didn't make sense, right? At that very moment in time, it didn't make sense. But now that I'm a 20-something-year-old girl, I'm looking back and I'm just like, damn, child. And honestly, that very message that was sent by that particular sangoma was it's a message that is being repeated in my life over and over again, because the last time I think I got the same message but in a different way was through a dream, and that was the most scariest dream I've ever had in my life. Anyways, so those are the type of ways that God communicates with us, and then we communicate with God through prayer. So what prayer does is that it ascends us to God, and not descends God to us, but ascends us to God, and He takes us to His level, and we basically talk to Him, and we sit down and we have all these conversations with it. Not conversations, but we pray and we lay down our concerns and our thanks and our praises and our worships and stuff like that. But also another communicating style as well that I feel like people should really use a lot is friendship. How you speak to your friend when you sit down and you laugh. I do that a lot. It's really comforting and it's really beautiful, where you just like, oh my gosh, God, and you just talk to Him and you have a conversation with Him. That is also a way of communicating with God, a very informal way. I feel like we at times don't form a relationship with God because we have taken it, like we have feared Him instead of respect Him, instead of love Him, instead of creating that bond, that relationship. So in turn, we don't want to speak to God. We don't want to speak to God. We don't want to speak to God, whatever. but it is, with me, I think with my spiritual growth, it has helped me so much, where I just sit down alone in my room or wherever, and I'm just speaking to God, like I'm speaking to my friend, like I'm speaking to, you know, my dad or whatever. But then in that sense as well, it comes down to how you relate to God, right? Basically with me, I think, because I relate to God more as a friend. Of course, he plays the father role and the mom role, whatever, but my mom and my dad, I think my mom and my dad did a very great job with reflecting God as a mom and reflecting God as a dad, and I relate. But I have, for the longest time in my life, needed a friend, and he has played that so much. But yeah, so next thing is, why do we communicate differently with God? I think I've said that. We all just relate to God differently because of our experiences, because of our needs as well, and because of how he knows us. We're not a cookie cutter people. We are different, you know. We love different, we experience things different, we laugh different, we look different, child. We just a different, we different from the next person, and so like we know two people will experience the same thing exactly the same way, and so we all experience things differently. And I think that's the reason why we just communicate with God differently, and because we relate to God quite differently. So next is, why is it important to communicate with God? Right? To communicate with God, basically the importance of it all is to create and form a relationship with God, right? It is very important. I feel like we take having a relationship with God for granted, or not too seriously. And with my life, I think being like an up and down person, I've realized that I can't live without God. With me personally, yes, I can live and do things, but like deep down, I really can't. I can't function, guys. I lose my mind. Like one disconnect with God, I feel like I lose my mind. I feel like things didn't go well. Like I can't I can't be, honestly, I can't be. So the importance of creating a relationship with God and communicating with God, honestly, it all comes down to really having that comfort, man. I feel, for me, I think personally, for me, right, God is like my comfort food in a stressful moment, or my warm food in a cold day. Like in a rainy day, we eat dombolo with beef stew. You know, like we eat dombolo with beef stew, or we eat stamp with beef stew and eat beetroot, because those are my favorite food. But like, you know, that's my comfort food, and that is my warm food. So that's how he makes me feel, that in very stressful times, or in times where I feel like I'm losing my head, he comes with that peace and that understanding, that peace that goes beyond all understanding. He gives me, you know, he hugs me, bruh, like he hugs me. But basically, yeah, so with my experiences, honestly, having a relationship with God, honestly, is something that you can never regret having. It grants you the peace that you need in your life. It grants you the sanity, you know, through the ups and downs in life. Because yo, guys, life doesn't get better, you get better. You know, life doesn't get better, nah. And yeah, so guys, that is all for today. The noise is getting too close. I think they're cutting the grass. Ugh. But anyways, guys, see you next time. do remember to subscribe, like, and comment, and interact with me, guys. So yeah, that would be all. Till next time. Mwah.